Welcome to Campaigns of the Plains, out of character after season 2 of Monster of the Week. It was an exciting conclusion. We are all live and in person. This was intended to be our finale, but hey, we want to things wrapped up in unexpected ways, and we're gonna go around table, talk about our experiences, and ask a few questions. And see what we can figure out. There's probably a few things I might keep close to the chest still, because whoever the next keeper is will probably need a little bit of a seed to start off the next season. So I guess I'll just start reading down the list here. The first question is aimed at me. We wrote a list of questions beforehand. So first one is, what the fuck up with that Pomeranian? So when someone messed up time, spoiler alert if you have not caught up with our season, but
don't watch this. Watch the season first.
Right.
And then you can see who we're blaming here.
But if you're just looking for a recap of the season so you know what's going on, what the fuck up with that Pomeranian? So there was a Pomeranian in the middle of this this devil trap room in the bunker, and honestly, that is just one of those keeper moments where you're like, I don't know, I feel like there should be something in the room, and so I put a red-eyed Pomeranian. That was the first thing that popped into my head. And honestly, I don't know what it is. And I leave it to the next keeper to figure that out. Just one of my little seeds of inspiration there.
It's going to be the BBEG for next season.
Yeah.
Just a Pomeranian.
And right now, if you caught up with the whole season, you would know that I hand-waved the last part of the last episode to allow characters to retire if they wish. So who knows how time may have been rewritten at this point, and where that Pomeranian might be in the world, or what was inside that Pomeranian. So, moving on, I guess the next question was, all of communism in one room? Again, I was trying to figure out different weird aspects of time. When time split into different timelines, all the characters were scattered amongst these different areas of and whens and hows of time. And so in the one time where Danica got placed,
which is like the most like obscure.
I think my inspiration for that was like the Fallout series, where like, you know, everything got kind of cemented into the 1950s way of being, and so like you were in a bunker inspired by that, and so all the things that the 1950s would despise, like communism, got trapped into the room. And I never expounded on that, but I don't know where I was going with that. I think
just all of it, just all of communism.
Yeah, I think like there probably would have just been a bunch of jail cells full of like communist leaders at the time. So in essence, all of communism was locked up in the bunker. But
I thought that they found a way to extract the idea of communism and just put it in.
Right.
They vialed it up and put it in like a mason jar or something.
But again, I guess that is just a question for a later time, maybe, because it's probably nothing we'll ever go back to again. But in the moment, like when I'm just like trying to, full disclosure, I had like a grandiose plan for this whole season. And, but also I try my best to allow the players to have their agency. And when that happens, then everything derails.
Always.
And so a lot of these questions are just ad-libbed. You know. I guess let's just move on from that.
Yeah.
We'll move on from communism. Did I think that Radio Shack would play such a prominent role in the season? No.
You mean not even to the point where, you know, we would
Just all fucking.
all like
Oh, what? What happened?
We stopped at the shack.
we stopped at the shack, we got shirts.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
This one's for you, honey.
Sticker.
Paige
Yeah.
actually got us the shirts, and we were gonna do it last episode,
Josh, you
but
got
things.
Sticker.
Oh, I got a sticker. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
Radio Shack. We
Radio
got to take
Shack.
pictures in our Radio Shack.
I would have fluffed out the last episode.
It was supposed to be a
I
surprise.
know. Well,
It's okay. We made our password to lock away the evil.
Step off camera.
Evil.
The strip.
The evil.
well, thank you, Paige. This is a wonderful surprise. No, I in a sense, I thought Radio Shack would play a bigger role in this season when I learned of Paige's character, Cypher. And like, I thought that, there would be occasional trips, and honestly, I didn't know how to integrate Cypher initially because, there was like this secret handoff, and like, I was trying to figure out where your Bobby, because there was already a Bobby in the previous season, and where your Bobby like fit in and all that, and that's really where like the Men in Black idea kind of started like weaseling its way into my plan. And that's, I don't know if there's a question that deals with it, but that's kind of where I started tying everything in. So like your character started to be the tie to everything else, because I came up with the idea that like maybe Gray's wife is actually alive, and he thought she was dead, but that's because she wanted to fake her death as well as him. And so they both faked their death at the same time.
You started messaging me, and I'm like, the fuck is he doing?
Yes, I remember anytime Travis messaged me about information about my character's backstory, I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be the target.
It's coming up.
But yeah, so like, I wanted to like create like this secret organization that would like challenge the Rosenschatten organization, and they'd be interested in like your skills, and like they had ties to everything, and the whole Dawn thing came much later on.
But now it makes sense with the weird timeline you've created, because like we know the Rosenschatten organization's bad. It still obviously exists in the timeline we're in now. So like this secret organization that Dawn is the head of now is something maybe we were like, we got to get rid of this group. So let's make a group to contend with them.
Yeah.
Because we already know it works. We've already seen it.
Yeah. So yeah,
Completing the timelines, right?
and the whole Radio Shack going back and forth thing, back to the original question, that was just that's comedy gold right there. Like,
I don't even think that like it started off as that, because it started off as a tandy shop that we were visiting, and,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it just ended up snowballing into, it was actually Radio Shack the entire time, or
well, yeah.
I think it started becoming a joke once you kept taking people to Radio Shack.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair.
So anyway,
Real match.
There we go. Yes.
Woo.
So
Definitely not sponsored, by the way.
No,
Like, we can't be sponsored. They don't exist anymore.
They still, yeah.
They do.
I think they have like 2 stores left.
In the whole of the world. I think they're all.
They do different things now.
Yeah.
I wonder if Weird Al Yankovic still owns stock in them.
Oh, maybe.
Let's see.
They went crypto. It's
Ooh.
how bad did I fuck up the timeline? I wonder who wrote that one.
Oh, wonder who.
So maybe I should. I mean, this timeline that I was going to portray no longer exists. So I think it is safe to divulge what my initial thoughts were on the direction of this campaign. So initially, the big bad I had planned on was Adam. Adam Alawal, which Alawal is a bastardization of the first in Arabic. Which, if you've watched the prequel season, Adam Alawal was also a secondary bad in that season. He ran Alawal Industries, which was trying to create a portal between the Sheed and Earth because he was in cahoots with a Fae over there that wanted to basically spark the wrath of Oberon to invade Earth so that the Fae could basically have the run of this world. Adam Alawal's whole shtick was that he wanted to basically get back at God for like basically creating him and then abandoning him and all of humanity. And Adam was planning on using the same technology he was going to use to bring the Sheed here as a way to open a portal through time. But he was basically going to wait until the very end of time and Earth because Adam was effectively immortal because he still had that divine spark of God. And he was going to wait until he could corner Kronos and steal his energy in the machine he built to basically make a time machine and reset time in his image, and he would become God. And the reason he had collected all the trap elements was so that he could go back to the beginning of time when God created Earth and trap God himself. And so my whole plan would be then is that you would be in this dystopian timeline, which you did eventually end up in, just of someone else's creation. And this dystopian timeline, you would all have to find out a way to free God so that God could essentially recreate Kronos and reset the timeline as it should have been. That was my plan.
That sounds really cool. We real fucked that up.
Well, to my defense, Ishara was after Kronos, definitely. And like, I don't know, it felt like really like, oh, this is the end, when all of a sudden Kronos was sitting in the middle of Istanbul, and it was like, oh, all of a sudden he's here. So I guess we're wrapping this one up. So
Yeah, that was the fake ending.
yes.
Yeah. It's in the whole hero's journey, which is kind of my big obsession now, but like there's always a point at the bottom of the wheel of the hero's journey where like the heroes are at their lowest point, and I wanted to flood the square with all of your enemies, all with their own motivations, trying to either get at you or at Kronos. And so in my head, that was your lowest point, but then like you would then move on to like things would get fucked up, but then you would build yourself back up and try and correct it. Now that did happen.
I was like, it did happen still.
Either way, yeah.
So yeah, no, that the whole Kronos thing, you were supposed to like that episode I had imagined was where you were going to like you were surrounded by enemies. Kronos would try to escape, and you would chase him through different points in time where the timeline would get fucked up until you ended up at the end of time where Adam would be waiting with a machine to fuck it
So
all
we were
up.
supposed to follow him through portals.
Yes.
We didn't get to the portal part because somebody absorbed him.
Well,
Right.
Yeah. But I will say that is one of the greatest gifts of this entire campaign was Josh's character, Jason. using Ishara to absorb Kronos and the essence of the first human ever.
I did not know that was that Adam. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else kind of
I never
made
caught
that
on. I did
connection.
not catch on.
If that was that Adam.
So through the prequel season, which was played many months ago, and many we've probably all forgotten by now, but and
I was not in that. To my defense, I was
your
not
defense,
in that one.
and then all through
Mhm.
and then through this campaign, anytime I tried to describe him, I always tried to describe him as looking youthful, but like ageless, and like eyes with like years of experience behind him, and like very old eyes that are just very distant. And so,
See, I'm dense, and I did not catch. You could have been like,
yeah,
Son of God, and I would have been like, cool, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, I always
Jesus.
Highly of
Right.
themselves.
You know, listen, like I have Jesus in my family too.
So yeah, I always tried to portray him as like looking young but much older than he ought to be. Like, but yeah, I mean, I tried to sprinkle little subtle things, and obviously, unless you know Arabic, you wouldn't pick up on Alawal being the first. And I tried to always portray him as very like conceited and like very prideful, and always like kind of flaunt like little hints in front of his enemies. So
What
anyway,
was that gun that he had, by the way? I don't think we ever got an answer to that one.
that is from, since this world is based in the Supernatural TV show, that is in fact the Colt revolver.
Is it the Colt? Okay, I thought it was the Colt, but I wasn't sure.
Which, since I had planned on ending the season with a whole like timeline rewrite, I figured it wouldn't matter if he had somehow got a hold of a demon and god killing revolver. So,
Well, we're in like a different, like alternate timeline altogether now. We kind of got sat back in we got nicely placed there by Kronos, I think.
yes.
In what would be like our best timelines. But, you know, I mean, really, everybody had like a decent, happy timeline that they came back to.
Yeah.
But like, Adam was dead in the timeline that we came from. So, like, do we know, is he actually still dead? Because the Jason who absorbed him is the one that is missing, and the one that is like stuck in that like pocket space. And he's the one that absorbed that Adam. So is Adam gone?
I feel like God probably would have corrected that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation where we're
Chuck,
in.
as he prefers.
Yeah, Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a very interesting situation that we're all in right now, because, and I'll let the next keeper figure that out, because yes, there is the essence of a very powerful angel and a very powerful, like, celestial being trapped in this alternate universe, this side packet, this nothingness, this darkness, whatever you want to call it,
In our basement.
void. Well, you don't really know where this is, and I guess
Well, that's true. We made it in our basement, but it disappeared afterwards.
yeah.
I have as a fan of the series, I have an idea, and I'm not gonna say anything, but I think I have an idea.
Yeah, so
Oh, that's good.
I'm very curious where this is all going to go, and I do leave that to the keeper, whether or not, and also to Josh, because whether or not he wants to revive the character he had,
Yeah,
and that'll be
depend.
between the keeper and him, whether or not that happens and how that happens. So I kind of leave it at that. So
Tune into the next season.
In the next season.
so
Find out who the next keeper is then.
Mhm.
We got no announcements.
yes.
Comment down below.
So the next question, we'll just keep moving on. How did Marcus survive the Rosenschatten initiation? So again, I tried to like allude to little clues that, and I don't think it's public knowledge yet. Who performed the initiation and how it was done. So I will keep that under wraps. However, there was one prologue to an episode where we saw Marcus climbing out of a grave, and he had like black veins all up the side of his face. So suffice it to say, he was poisoned. He was trying to go through this initiation that would have given him powers, but it was tainted, and so he was poisoned, and they thought he had died, but something about the transformation process saved him just enough. So he is kind of in a Deadpool-esque situation where he's part alive, part dead, and like he then going back to the Men in Black, found his way into that organization where he was using it as a resource to find the person that poisoned him and try and get back at them. And in doing so, he started following your group because he knew that the person that poisoned him also was chasing your group.
We killed everyone. Well, no, he killed everyone. But the person who poisoned him was also possessing Henry. At that timeline.
He thought he killed everyone.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But the person in question has a lot of backup contingency plans.
She would.
And there was one that Josh left me when he handed over the keeper role, which I will make ample notes to hand over to the next keeper.
I still want to know, like, what the Rosenshot organization, like, what all they do, because we've never gotten, like, super information about it.
Mm-hmm.
All that I know is that it's not good.
Yes.
It's not good stuff. They're not, like, trying to be helpful in a supernatural, like, spooky way.
Yeah.
They're doing corrupt shit for their own reasons, but we don't know why those reasons are, except for that it's not good shit.
Right. So, that's the story on Marcus.
And he doesn't exist anymore in this timeline. Not even the memory of him. Danica's the only one who knows that he ever existed.
He got trapped in this alternate dimension because of your poor role at the end. That was the punishment, is that you would lose your brother. So moving on. Why would you do Dale dirty like that?
Oh, I didn't even write that. But I am very interested.
So, kind of moving back to some previous thought I had is that as I was getting ready to step into the keeper role, I asked everyone like how many upgrades they had to their characters yet, and looking at it, I was like, oh, like some characters, like by the end of the season, they will be maxed out and they will be ready to retire. So I moved the story along in a way that I wanted everyone to have the option to retire at the end, because it's fun to have like a Mary Sue character, but also at the same time, it's like you feel like you just get stale and you can't grow. And so that's why I decided to like point people in a direction that like really developed their story and gave it a point where like if at the end we could give it a happy resolution, like they would feel complete. So I did Dale dirty because I'd always planned to have an option that so long as your character survived, you could have that happy ending with him.
Yeah, I think the Weird Sisters, like, if the timeline wouldn't have reset the way that it did, I feel like if we can figure out how to travel through time, we can figure out how to save Dale in some timeline. Like, I feel like we would have worked to figure out how to perfect our time travel to save him.
Yeah.
Dale's the key to everything.
Because if everybody gets to be happy, Don gets to be happy too.
But no, I just really wanted like, I wanted Dawn's story to have a focus in this whole arc. A lot of it focused on Olivia and Henrietta last season, I feel. Just because Olivia was this
battery.
Yeah, a battery for the elementals, and everyone was chasing them. And there was a lot of your story in the last season with like your father being kind of the big bad, or one of the bads, I should say.
Yeah, one of the preliminary bads.
Kind of an anti-hero, I'll say.
Well, and I feel like Danica's story is kind of like stretched through everything because her, like half of her family they run the bunker, right? They've always run the bunker after Biddy.
Your mom's side runs the bunker.
And then her dad's side is the big bad. So she's kind of just the key to like kind of the organization that we're a part of. So
this season I really focused on Dawn. I focused a bit on Ray too, because I felt like some of his story could have been told a little more. We obviously saw that he was like corrupt and willing to stab his employer in the back, literally. And then also I wanted to like give a story to the two new characters. And I hope I did an okay job with that.
It's always harder with characters like when you have a pre-existing set
it's
of
really hard to go into backstory, I think, with new characters when there's already like something going on.
But I think I did okay with Josh's character. I hope I did okay with Cypher's. I think you took a mechanic later on that like you got psychic powers, but you said you only wanted
I limited it, because it was open. I took like one ability that was like I had like more awareness to stuff, and then I messaged him and I was like, I wanted to limit it to just technology.
And so I was like, how does that play out narratively? And I was like, she gives life. And I had another little connection I was going to play in there, but I might just leave that for now. In case, I don't know if next time we play this, you want to resume your character or play a new one, but I'll leave it out there.
Okay.
But yeah. So I wanted to focus on Dawn's story. I wanted there to be some drama, some like heartbreak there, and a chance for redemption and all that.
The Dale story arc made me very sad.
It was sad.
It made me, and I was so happy when he was alive at the end.
Yep.
Especially because I had initially in the first season kind of set him up to be this like goofy, like lovable character, and then like he got the axe, and I was like, oh, Dale.
Well, and I was like, oh my god, that's sad, but like when you think about it in terms of like tragedy, like it kind of makes sense. He lost his wife. Presumably, he also lost his only child. Like. I could see how that could send somebody into that kind of spiral.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense.
So
I just love Dale so much.
Yeah.
Good emotional motivator.
Yeah. So that's why I axed Dale early on, and at the end, I wanted to show that like for saving the universe, God and Kronos gave you a little gift back, and I am happy to report Dale is going to AA meetings. He's cleaning up his life, and he's figuring things out. But I think with the help of his very powerful daughter, he can pull through.
And in the terms of like the timeline resetting and like everybody getting like a good ending, I think I am the saddest for Olivia, who not only did not get to get Henrietta back, she got shown that she got this good life in this timeline where she got maybe better life, where she got to be like kind of raised alongside Danica in the bunker in this like in safety, maybe not being chased, but she doesn't get to have any of those memories, which I think is so tragic for her.
Yeah.
But she still has to live with those memories.
She still has to live with the memories that she has that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I get that she gets to know that Henry's alive and gets to have her son, and that's great, but she doesn't get to have that mom that she knew. And that's really sad. For me, that's really sad for her.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like Olivia got like a complete ending. Like she had like some pieces, like Henrietta got to be saved. But like she still has so much more of herself that she has to figure out, and not necessarily with your family, but like just how she can figure out her powers and why.
Yeah, and like she's dropped in this world where you don't know, like, you're still half angel.
Mm-hmm.
Are they still coming for you, or was your gift God's gift to you that you get to exist as a Nephilim
Mm-hmm.
without anyone coming after you?
Right.
Like maybe you get a pass now.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, you don't even know. You really didn't like investigate yourself fully. Like maybe he just made you like divine,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to
Or
tell.
Maybe.
Or maybe
you just get to be a normal 19-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Like maybe,
yeah.
maybe he gave you a
That seems like
pass
a pretty solid
and
gift.
you saved the world and you get to keep the angel powers without anyone coming to get you and you can just be normal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess we'll see
In the next
if
season.
we
Yeah.
find Olivia in the third season.
Yeah. If
I don't know if you're moving on from her.
Oh, definitely.
I think that whoever
There was
is
so
the
much.
keeper next needs to get like, what did your character do? Like we need to have like a discussion session. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what's your character's plan after this? Like, are they still going to kind of work with part of the bunker or apparently the Men in Black organization that we somehow create? Like, I know the Weird Sisters got to get together and write a book and create an organization at some point.
So yeah, I feel like it's probably safe to say that the Weird Sisters as players are retired, but I do, now that they are in the universe, it's interesting to see if they will be part of the future stories going forward.
Well, I know Danica will because I like the only option left for her to take, which I took, right at the end, is that she becomes she takes over her
Sect.
sect.
Yes.
So I assume she's like, Mama, you retire, I got this.
So it will be interesting going forward. Moving on. Not a sponsor. Moving on to other people. This question is from Matt, Eric, and Alicia. How do the Weird Sisters feel about their new job maintaining
These are not the girls who watch me.
No.
But apparently we do it.
Mhm.
And we do it. I mean, do we do a good job? I don't know. But at some point, we need to fuck the timeline up enough. Like, that's the hard part. Like, the way that time works is that you have to make sure that it connects so that it ends up repeating the right way.
Right.
So at some point, we need to go to the fucked up timeline and make sure everything keeps happening.
Right.
Right? Like, Gray obviously has his wife, but has his wife at this point a part of our organization? Do we need to go and hire her? Like,
Mhm.
and I don't even know, like, what Gray, like, is Gray still a,
Like an agent or
it's Gray still corrupt AF? Like, what,
Oh.
right? Yeah, I don't know what you guys feel like, but I feel like we are, I mean, I feel like we'll do a good job, but I'm also questioning our abilities to maintain the timeline.
yeah, I feel like it would be one of those things we do once. We do literally just once and fuck it up once.
Yeah.
And then we never touch it again.
Well, I think that we fuck it up the way that it needs to be fucked up, but then it's maintenance, right? Like we have to create this whole organization that like what Gray's wife was doing when we met her in the story and going around to these anomalies and fixing them. Like we have to make sure we have people that go and do that and we're tracking anomalies. So I almost feel like we're going to turn like a part of the bunker or another part of the world or space or whatever into an anomaly tracking station, which we know exists, so that we can maintain the time.
And, I mean, that might be a good plot for the third season.
Yeah,
right?
it's timeline maintenance, right?
Mhm. I'm sure the Weird Sisters aren't gonna want to do that shit, right?
No, that's why. Yeah, we're gonna have groups of people that they have their jobs. Your job is to go deal with monsters. Your job is to maintain the timeline.
Yeah, just go maintain this. I don't feel like
spells and shit.
That would almost be a good like in between like 2.5 seasons.
Yeah.
The maintenance team.
The maintenance team maintaining the timeline. Yeah.
Oh God! Don't tell the Weird Sisters we fucked this part up.
right.
And then
Uh-huh.
and then at the end, the Weird Sisters have to come in and fix it for them anyway.
Yeah. It's just like if you fuck up the timeline, you have to spend 24 hours in the 1950s anti-communist timeline.
With Richard Simmons.
Why would you do that?
That's your punishment, is you get to be in the worst timeline.
Right.
good benefits.
No, we've got great health and dental
Oh, okay.
and vision, obviously.
At least for that.
And everyone gets a pretty sizable life insurance policy because since we were in the future, Danica knows all of the things that she should be investing in
All right.
to get good money.
Or has his timeline changed that much that
I mean, Radio Shack's fine.
Sure. Yeah, we alone are the ones that keep Radio Shack alive.
This whole time, it makes it indefinitely because we're funding it. It just becomes what it should have become, which is like going more into like.
I think Dawn just figures out how to spawn money out.
There we go. Why we need to make our own money when we can go and,
Yeah.
go and take money from different timelines, so we learn how to create gold.
Eric, does Dawn hate Jason for making her go through her mom's death?
I don't think she would hate him for that. But it was pretty rough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think they knew each other for a few weeks. So, but I think she would probably know that whatever happened wasn't done out of spite, and like he was trying to help everyone, and that he didn't know what was going on. Like, he didn't know what he was going to cause. So, and I think she's learned that over the time that she's been traveling with these people. Like, you can't be mad at people for what happens because she's probably made the same mistakes doing shit. You know, we all have bad roles.
Yeah. Well, and this time, if I remember correctly, Dawn got to be there the whole time and spend time with her mom, whereas before I think that it was hard.
A little more, yeah.
It was hard for her to sit there and be there with her.
Well, I mean, she had to sit through it again in the weird, like, bunker timeline thing again. So,
Do you think maybe she felt like she got a little more closure?
Probably. I know, I think she tried to help her, and I think when she realized that she couldn't, she realized that it's something that had to happen, so she couldn't be upset about it.
Mm-hmm. Some things in time are set in stone, right? That's how that works.
Constant, right?
Mm-hmm. There's always a time constant.
So kind of to roll off of that question. So I changed things a little bit where everyone had kind of assumed that Olivia had absorbed Antiope into her. But then I revealed it later on that Dawn is actually like the inheritor of Antiope's power. Like, how did you feel about that?
It was shocking because I don't think Dawn ever saw herself as someone like that. I feel like Dawn always saw herself as someone that's there as like support for the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's the healer, she's the one that helps the sisters, and like she knew that everyone had their roles, and she legit was support. And then to have that kind of power, I think it was shocking to her.
I'd be curious to see what other powers you had, like when you transformed.
There was some really cool stuff, but there was like the only move that seemed to make sense was Soothe. There were some other cool things she could have done.
Now that Dawn has that and she knows she has that, do you think she's going to use those abilities, kind of, maybe not secretly, but like off the radar to help people?
Maybe.
Like you can't obviously bring people back to life or cure cancer, but maybe you can help heal and set broken bones, or like maybe do you think she's gonna go help in like aid relief or something? Like, because she's got these great healing powers that she can use on massive amounts of people without maybe people noticing, to help with some of those things.
It's interesting to do.
I know you mentioned before that you thought Dawn would want to retire and live a normal life. Do you think that that's still what her end goal is now, knowing how we're so involved in timeline stuff?
I think it all depends on kind of what the weird sisters have to do. But I could see, at one point I thought Dawn's either going to die or she's going to retire and like move back to Minneapolis. Especially like probably take over kind of where her parents were living, like buy back the house. And the fact that Dale's back now, I don't know if she'll just spend time with him and just be with him, or if she'll work with the bunker, or if she'll just be like a special agent that goes out on certain things.
Well, if it's Dawn doesn't want to go out on field work and she just wants to run things from a safe place so that she can
She just has a work
still
from home
have
position.
that like
She's work from
yeah.
home. She's working from
Well,
home.
and maybe that's
Yeah.
why she's the one that is the running, that part of the organization that keeps track of time, because you can monitor that from a safe location and not have to go out and do field work yourself, and then you can still have that semi-retired life that Dawn might want.
Makes sense.
I feel like, unfortunately, because of the way the timeline went and because of the time maintenance thing, like the Weird Sisters are semi stuck in this. Even just a little bit. Like, I feel like Danica's gonna stay in it, right? She's gonna run the bunker, and I feel like she would take on everything if the other two wanted to have a normal life. She'd take on as much as if she could, and just like, you guys do maintenance stuff over here.
So, one of our members has to go out on a quick errand here, but I want to. I'm going to jump ahead and ask this question since everyone wants to know this. Paige, who was your favorite mecha child, and why was it not quite one?
Definitely not quite one. He would come back. I was really like waiting for it. I was like, please come back.
Wait,
Come in and save the day.
wait till season 3.
I wanted to bring not quite one back so bad, but it just the opportunity never really presented itself, and so
He should have come back and rammed Giant Isharo when she was in the sky.
Yeah.
Right in the face.
The bunker. He could just be in a hangar down in the bunker.
Yeah.
There's a hangar.
It's very possible.
Yeah.
He's just chilling there.
I don't know the fate of your children.
Now that the timeline's checked.
Yeah, because you made it in the future in like 1992, so it wouldn't exist in 1986 in theory. I leave it to the
Unless
next.
Kronos was like, yeah,
Some timing.
grab that plane.
I guess to follow up on that, do you think Not Quite One is still out there somewhere?
Yes, I hope so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that answers it, folks. We're going to see more of Not Quite One,
Yes.
or we will revolt.
Yeah.
He is a constant.
Matt, would Olivia try to handle Asmodeus before trying to rid herself of her angel half? Or does she think that by ridding herself of her angel half, that it will make Asmodeus lose interest?
I think it depends on if she was gifted with like anonymity, right? Like it depending on how the timeline gets set up. If he's still after her in any reason, I think she would try and like gather some allies now that she's been out in the field for a while, right? But he also has a lot of allies, so it might be like a futile thing. Like she might have like one last hurrah in her to try and kill him and like rid herself of him, but it might just be easier to just kind of hide and like just have that always looming over her. And if she can get rid of her angel self, then he would have no reason to, right? She's no longer of use to him.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't behoove her.
And it could be, if she's granted that an anonymity that he, or even if, you have become a really high profile target now at this point, so it's not worth his time to target you when there are probably other Nephilims out there that he could target. And so maybe that become Olivia's next flight, is to find the other Nephilims and keep them safe. Because if she's no longer being targeted and there are others out there that are going to go through the same life that she went through, would she want to protect them?
Yeah, I don't know if she's that selfless. I don't think she is. I think she would just be like, he's no longer after me. Cool, watch
Somebody
me.
else's problem.
Like I don't think she's that selfless. Like I feel like she was kind of dragged tooth and nail to do some of this stuff that was really super altruistic, and I don't think she was raised to be super altruistic. At least she doesn't feel like she is.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Henrietta was like, let's save everybody. It's more of like, let's get this job done and like, let's get out of here, right? Like, let's save people if we can, but like, you're not gonna stick your
save ourselves and
yes, very much like yourself first. And I don't think she would like put the rest of her life on the line just to save random people she's never met, right?
Alicia, with Danica reaching out to her father at the end, do you think she will try to find out about the process to become like the Rosenschatten leaders? And if so, do you think she might be tempted to undergo the process for all the right reasons?
For all the right reasons, as in to like overthrow them at some point.
You tell me.
I think a lot of that might, I mean, depending on what season 3 looks like, I feel like some of that might come out in season 3, right? But I think her originally wanting to reach out is to see if that organization still exists in this timeline, which it does. And she knows that it's bad. So I think that it would depend on, like, I think she would reach out to Gray and see, like, if he's figured out if he's still part of it. And if not, or if he still wants to figure out a way that they can get rid of it, the organization completely, whether that be through us creating this other group of people that are opposed to them in some way, or by Danica going through this initiation in the hopes that she actually goes through it successfully so that she has the power to fight one-on-one herself. I don't know.
Okay.
I think at this point she probably wouldn't, just because she saw that it killed her brother and turned him into this other thing, or she doesn't know the full effect of what it had on him, but she's seen what they look like when they drop their human guises, right? And also that unending life, because they don't die, right? They just age forever, or they just keep, they just stay alive. I don't think that that's what she wants for herself. I don't think she wants to live forever. She saw what that did to Adam, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he wanted to rewrite the world in his own image because he lived forever and watched all of his loved ones and children die. I don't think that that's the life that she would want too. So,
but the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
yeah, it depends on how hard it is. Like, if they can't figure out, like, I feel like she might, if it becomes desperate enough, she might to save other people, right? Danica is selfless in that way. But it really just depends on how things happen. Okay.
I think since we've been going for about an hour close to, let's end with just going round table and just seeing if, are you all happy with how your core character story evolved or ended?
Do you want to start, Alicia?
Yeah, I think it's half and half, right? Danica's life has not changed much. And overall from everybody, the biggest thing is that her brother no longer exists in this timeline, and she's the only one that will ever remember him, and that's really sad for her. But at the same time, her mom's still alive. Her dad's still alive, so that's kind of a complication. But the bunker's still here. Her life, for the most part, is where it was before all of this, we jumped through time, right? So, I mean, she's content. There's more for her to do. But it's something that she'll do probably on the sidelines, sending other people out while she does behind the scenes work.
Yeah, I think the necromancer thing that was happening was excellent and is very unprepared for. I was like, I'm just gonna take this ability and let's see what's gonna happen. I always intended him to be a wimp. I love that. So yeah, no, I think he progressed well. I think it was really fun. So.
Good.
Would you bring him back for season 3?
Oh yeah. He's part of the organization now though. So
He doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah,
Well,
like,
Until the memories catch up, I guess.
Right.
Well, he has all the memories of everything that happened. He thought it was a dream until Mrs. Black, aka Mrs. Grayson, showed up and offered a position in that organization.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll see what Cypher decides if he becomes part of the Men in Black and operates clandestinely amongst the other hunters.
I also wonder too, like, what happens if we decide, like, the 1986 Six group decides to go get him early.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would his life change?
Mm-hmm.
Would he be a wimp? Like what
That
if
could be
we,
good 2.5.
yeah, like what happens if we get to like 1991 time and Cypher's been with us for 4 or 5 years or whatever, and he is really in his, like, he knows what he can do because the Weird Sisters is like, no, bitch, you can do magic. Look at you.
Bitch, you got this.
Yeah.
Diary of a Magic Wimpy.
That's funny. Teach him how to actually shoot a gun.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Like, and then we get
Yeah, we should probably get
yeah, and then we get to a season 3 with a Cypher that is so different and that is secure in like what he can do, which would be really kind of interesting too.
mm-hmm.
And with not quite one, obviously.
The sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big side.
That's not quite one. It's just our transportation. Could you imagine?
He's a
like,
transformer.
a sentient plane that Biddy could get her hands on to like soup up with that like high speed
Oh my
like
God.
flight and like just like that Sheed magic, what he could be capable of. We could see him everywhere.
With cheat magic and Biddy's know-how, you could actually probably create a legitimate transformer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he could be a transportation everywhere.
And he can turn into like a briefcase or something.
Yeah, we just take him with us.
A backpack. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if he became a laptop?
Oh,
we could do like,
Oh,
this,
So,
like
so who's going to be
Yeah.
not quite one in camping?
Is,
Oh,
there's
no.
like a creature class. or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, like there's probably a class you could make.
That's amazing.
Oh, the monstrous
And not
Yeah,
one
transformer.
You know?
not
Yeah.
one could just be a
I'm
member
for
of
it.
the party,
Ooh.
Yep.
Oh man.
but he would still call you father.
Of course. Of course.
Hello, Father. Do I make you proud?
Okay, so Travis is the character.
yeah, there we go.
I am. My old one's dead / re-alived.
Real life retired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I don't want Jason to come back because for anybody who knows Supernatural, who he dealt with, that would not be good for anybody. And if he's in like, if we're doing separate timeline, if he is the out instead of who it is in Supernatural for who he dealt with, that's going to be big problems for a lot of people. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad for him, you know, having placed his trust in somebody he thought was going to help him out. But we didn't really get into his backstory, but he was bullied a lot as a kid. So that's why he told Ishara that he didn't like bullies and that he wasn't going to stand for that. So
Yeah. Had both of the Jasons. the shell that was left behind for Ishara to possess, and the one that was recreated out of shadow by Amara. Yeah, they're both very sad stories, but also like that kind of like abuse, torture, neglect, like it does things to the mind, and so I think by themselves, without powers, they are dangerous people. But because they are now containing the powers of like divine creatures, they are very they're loose cannons, atomic bombs, really. So.
Yeah, because Jason absorbed those powers for Amara, but are some of those powers still lingering in Jason?
Well,
question for
that's for
me
the
or
next
the keeper, depending on.
Would you play him in the next campaign, or would you bring somebody else in?
Oh, I feel like he would make a really good like
Villain. Yeah, but
in any capacity,
and I think it would
whether it be something he was like mentally doing like on purpose with like future Jason or even past Jason where he is just this reckless kid with powers.
Mhm.
Like if he wasn't beholden to somebody and he got over his issues of all of his past trauma and he was just this kid with superpowers, I feel like he'd basically turn into somebody like the Mask and be like, I'm gonna do crazy shit because nobody can tell me no.
So, back to the question. So it was a sad ending. Was it a fulfilling ending?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, he got to, in a couple times, like, be the, like, movie / comic book hero that he had always liked and idolized. So he got to kind of be both the like superhero and the anti-heroes. So I feel like he had a lot of fun along the way, even if it was a little traumatizing in either case.
Yeah.
Matt, so you have two characters actually, Olivia, and we didn't really give an ending to Arrows, and I considered it during our epilogue, but I kind of left it out on purpose just because Arrows is still a young character and could be developed further. So, how did your stories go?
Yeah, I think Olivia's it ended kind of how I thought it would. Like we didn't have time to really get to Asmodeus and such because it just wasn't a focus, which is fine. But like that's obviously got to be handled right before she can really be at rest or make sure she's not being hunted. So I'm fine with how it evolved. Like she learned more about like time and stuff and how all that works. But I don't think she really has an ending yet. And I don't know if we would ever play that ending out, right? It might just be like it happens in the background. For Arrows, I feel like he didn't get a lot of obviously screen time, right? Because he was supposed to be a background character. That's all he was supposed to be. He was a facilitator, right? And we met like his mom at one point, but we didn't really get to know like why he's really doing all this stuff. Like a lot of his backstory is still kind of unknown. So I'll obviously leave that.
Right. Which I did touch on that a little bit, where Arrows is the angel that was your mother initially, and so.
Do you think, since we had all of our memories, that he would keep all of his memories? Do you think he'd seek Olivia out, or she'd seek?
Oh yeah.
Him out? Like, do you think they'd seek each other out eventually?
Yeah, I think he would like help her in the Asmodeus stuff if he could. But he also has to kind of fly under the radar for reasons, so he might not want to draw attention to himself, right? So it really depends on how much he can get away with without being on someone's radar, right? So he might try and help with that, but we'll see. We'll see what if he comes back next season.
Okay. Great.
Oh boy. Externally, yes, I am happy with how things kind of worked. I like what you did with this story, and I think the way it ended was open enough that there's any number of ways that could end up turning out. Internally, I don't feel like I did well with the character this season. That's more things that I'm not going to get into right now. But yeah, I think overall I like what you did with it.
Were you shocked or happy or disappointed with like the fact that Gray has his whole family back?
I loved his apprehension at like, is this actually like happening?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of like, what the hell? Shocked and confused.
Yeah,
I think a lot of shock because it puts him in a really strange position because we have our memories.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, it was revealed elsewhere that his wife, at some point in time at least, she gets those memories back. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of shock.
I personally think you did fine with Gray because I think back to the hummingbird flashback where I revealed her pet name for you, and like the first time you hear her voice on the phone, and just like the surprise and the emotion, like I think it played really well, and so
really need a scene where we see Gray just like in dad shorts at a basketball kid's.
It's like,
Yeah. Coaching soccer.
Well,
Not the trees.
is he carrying the whole
Because having those memories and knowing what led to him becoming this significant criminal in the world, and now suddenly he's placed in a life where that didn't happen. What do you do? Because the reason why he is the way he is, like his character, his personality, it's part of it, that is all because of what put him in that position. It was that shock of like someone tried to kill me but killed my wife, almost killed my child. That's gonna fuck with someone.
Yeah.
And then getting into this criminal underworld, how do you deal with that in a life where that's not what happened?
Yeah.
So there's gonna I don't plan on coming back to the character, like playing it, but yeah, that's going to be something that I like. That's gonna have to be explored, I think.
Yeah, my what I want to kind of see, whoever is the keeper next season, is like we got that glimpse of Gray's closet, right? He has his military uniform hanging up in there, but he also has like suits, but they kind of look like I don't know, like FBI agent or CIA agent kind of style suits, not your
They didn't
like criminal empire, like I can wear fancy suits kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see,
Exactly.
does he belong to his wife's organization? Is he actually still somewhere in the U.S. government and he's got ties in there and he's an agent?
I
So
mean, if we created it,
that was
maybe
kind
were
of
like Gray.
part of one of the wonders. I actually recorded some shit just like, what the fuck? Because okay, there's suits, there are uniforms, but they were kind of buried further back, so it's like, okay, he maybe continued with his career in some way, and maybe he's somewhere else in the government.
The fun thing
How
is
do
that
you-
that gets to be up to you in the next keeper. Like you get to make his future, right?
Yeah.
But I'm excited though by the parallel too, because he still has all these memories of being a criminal.
Well,
Is
that's
he
what-
going to go back? Is he going to gravitate back to that criminal lifestyle?
No.
Or
He's just going
is
to
he
help
gonna-
us run our agency.
Well, or is he going to use those memories of like being a really good agent and being like, I know how these people think.
Yeah. Well,
So-
like at this point in the timeline, do we even have the other agency created yet? Like, does him and his wife just still work in the government, and then they help us form it?
Unless the and this is going to be between Travis and the other keeper. Like, is that one agency that he made those black suits? Are they outside of time? Is that like Miss Grayson? Is that the Miss Grayson that's outside of time, not his wife?
I will say anyone who was paying attention that say here at the end when Mrs. Black was talking to Cypher, she said that they have protections against shifts in time.
But in the 90s, but in the 80s, we haven't set it up yet, technically, right?
I
Because
guess
when,
we'll
like,
have to figure that out.
even
Yeah.
in like the original timeline, when Josh was the keeper the first time, that organization hadn't existed that we were aware of, right?
That you were aware of. They
That we
could have been
were
outside
aware
of time the entire time.
Were they outside of time because we made them outside of time because time going through time is confusing.
It feels like this agency might be pretty close to Umbrella Academy, the timekeepers there or whatever.
Oh, the ones that just sit outside of time. Yeah.
They're the maintenance team that we.
Yeah, they're the maintenance team that we make up. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Won't lie. I was inspired by like Loki and by the Umbrella Academy's like time agencies. So, all inspirations for the Men in Black as I conceived them in this world. So, last but not least, how did Dawn's?
I feel like Dawn probably had the best ending, right? Like, really?
Yeah.
The only thing that, like, I feel like we just brought her back to basically right where things started for the most part. Like, her mom is gone, but her dad is back. She got to experience life without him and learned a whole lot about herself besides that. But then is also able to go back and just have that again if she wants it. And it's, her life isn't perfect, but like, no one is. But I think she realizes that she probably has the best ending, like, that she could. I don't think she ever thought she would have what she has again. And it's probably the best thing that could have happened to her. Like, I think she still has the ability to do whatever she wants, but like, I think she learned that her family, there was only the three of them, and now that's the two of them, that's the most important thing to her. And that she can have that and just be Dawn. That's pretty good. Like, she grew up a lot in that, like, time. Not even sure how many weeks it was, but in those like 6 months or whatever she was doing that, she learned a lot about herself and is able to appreciate what she has now.
Yeah.
So
She basically got a full hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
Like, but she came back to exactly where she started.
Like, that's the weird thing is like she's basically because where did we come back? She came back.
So the final fight with the elementals, I believe, was like at the very end of 1985, and you all arrived back in this altered, better timeline on New Year's Day of
Where that didn't happen,
1986.
where we never fought the elementals.
Exactly.
But do they still exist?
That's a good question.
That's up to the keeper.
Because we killed them, technically. I mean,
But you never fought them in
we
this
never fought them in
timeline.
this
Right.
timeline.
What you do
But you
know,
still absorbed them in your timeline, so
Mhm.
That
you know
energy
that
still technically
one
resides in
elemental
Olivia.
still exists, and it exists in Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
yes, that is true.
With that is
And
Dawn.
you know that one Titan still exists, at least, and that is Kronos.
Yes, we don't mind Kronos and we don't mind Dawn, so as
Yeah.
long as nobody gets trigger fingers, we should be fine.
Mhm.
Right.
With Dawn having that power, do you think she's gonna secretly like try to use it and kind of help out in like certain clinics, but keep it on the down low?
Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
asked that.
yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
I don't know if she would. I feel like, because I don't think it would always be
Or is she just gonna keep everything hush? That way she can experience life with.
because I think because part of me, the way I see it, it's like it's part of her mother, so I feel like it's like her mother's essence. So she would probably act the way that her mother did, and it would. I guess we did go into her background and like what her mother was like when she was growing up. So if her mother was like constantly like doing community service and stuff like that, she maybe would do that kind of stuff, but keep it real low level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? She's a healer, so she's gonna reach out and do stuff like that, but I don't think she's gonna. I don't know. I don't think she'd fly around to disaster areas. Maybe.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
would.
Is she,
Maybe she'd hop on.
is she just gonna be the
Not quite
night
one.
nurse?
She can just also teleport.
Right.
She
She'd be
gonna
the
be
night
like,
nurse.
yeah, the night nurse for the bunker, where we're like,
Yeah.
oh, you got fucked up.
We're in Minneapolis. We're real fucked up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, like Grey's Contact in Sioux Falls, where she just does it for money and
Yeah.
then.
But yeah, I feel like Dawn probably has the best ending.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing really changed that much. She just learned more about herself.
Yeah, and you do still have some of these, like we all do have some of these like bad memories, but you at least got like what you had left,
Yeah.
what you had before, you got it back.
Reset.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone else.
Yeah, and I feel like Gray had a decent ending too, because like he got his family back. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of confusing for him, but
Yeah.
I want a meme now, though. I just thought of this. It's the one where it's like, and like Air Force One, not quite one.
Yeah. Funny.
Anyway,
But Travis,
do we have the last one?
yeah. I mean, you're in this year as well. How do you feel how do you feel about everybody's endings?
Ah, geez.
How do you feel about where you left Henrietta?
That might have been a little bit of my own hubris of, giving my old character a happy ending. But no, I think, I tried hard to think of like, what's the best case scenario for everyone, but also that leaves certain elements open that like time can still progress as according to the master plan, so to speak, because you were given happy endings as little rewards, but like ultimately there are greater powers at work that have their own goals, and I think I gave everyone at least an okay ending. You know, obviously Danica, I would have included your brother in your timeline where he is not part of Rosenschatten, and he got to live his own life and be his own person.
I think that the ending that he had is okay. I mean, like, again, it's sad that he didn't get to live, but at the same time, he got to have some kind of he got to have that hero moment. He got to be like helpful, and you know, I don't know, maybe there is a chance, if there's a chance for Jason, like depending on how storyline goes, like if something gets Jason out of there, something could get Marcus out of there. Who knows, right?
I mean, there's 3 beings locked up in this trap you made, so who knows what happens if they get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought that was good. I thought that was a good ending. And I tried to follow the rules and show that there are consequences for some actions. Cypher, I feel like Cypher's story is starting. Now that, he's been through this boot camp of monster hunting, and now all of a sudden there's this interest about him, about this organization wanting his services, and I wanted to leave a little cliffhanger to allow that story to be flushed out if you wish, or maybe that just becomes an NPC. It's up to you, but I'm happy with that. Obviously, Jason's ending, I think it's fitting for everything he did and set out to do. I wish I could have given it a happier ending, but not all endings are happy. And that's just the way it is.
No, I'm kind of glad that there's there had to be somebody who didn't get everything that they wanted. So
It's conclusive.
It was a good mix of endings in all of us. Like, some people got happy endings, some people got the ending that they were always going to have.
Yeah.
Some people got kind of sad, tragic endings. Some people got bittersweet endings, right? Yeah.
Olivia's, it is bittersweet because it's not maybe a happy ending, but she can't be the person she becomes without adversity. But also I wanted to show her that Henrietta at least got to live a life, got to raise a child, and that not all of this was for naught, that her work and her sacrifices have been rewarded in some indirect way. And I wanted that last conversation with you and Henrietta where kind of this does she know, does she not, where she kind of transcends her reality to kind of shift back into the reality you knew her as, where she's talking directly to you, that sometimes the best use of one's life is just to raise a great child. And I really wanted to impart that on Olivia before she headed off on her whatever new adventures await her. So
I'm a little interested in does Henrietta have any memory? We have all of our memories, and Henrietta was a part of it for a while. So is it she's got these weird dreams that she has where she hunts monsters?
She is a dream walker.
For some reason.
it's on my hands.
Mm-hmm.
Right, are there things there that she's that's weird. That's not something I remember happening in my life, but they're still kind of there because it is something she experienced and she got to come back?
I have one last question. This is Keeper to Keeper from season 1 to season 2. What did you think about taking over everything that it left you? Because we don't do many campaigns where it's the same campaign and we swap just who's handling it. So how is
We should finish with Travis'
Oh,
yeah.
analysis.
Oh, sorry.
I'll come back to that, but yeah, Gray's, I wanted to just mess with his head, so mission accomplished.
Yeah.
His face when it was his wife that showed up was, I don't even think that was a Gray reaction. I think that was a Christian
I
reaction.
might have to watch.
Your face was just like,
why?
the fuck?
Yeah. No, I definitely, when, and I'll come back to that, but any character that was handed to me and it said deceased, I just scratched that out. Because, there were nothing certain in my interpretation of it, but and then finally Dawn's. Like I that was the one where I'm kind of proud of the way I handled the Dale situation because like, yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster, but I designed it that way and I think it landed.
That's what
I feel like it. So I'm very happy with how Dawn's story, how that ended. Gain handed it. Oh my god. So I have Matt can attest that I've griped at home about this. I'm not only handling the story you hand me, I'm also handling a franchise where I'm trying to stay true to the characters and situations already there. So I'm like just in this like narrow alley trying to balance those two things. But I think I got a little I handled it a little looser later on just because like we started dealing with time manipulation. So just the rules are just thrown out the window at that point.
That's what happens with time.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I'm leaving it to the next keeper in a position where they have a blank slate.
They do. And I think it's interesting because Josh left it on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
So you had a villain.
Yes.
Or an idea of a villain going in.
And I think it's safe to divulge that in Josh's notes, he said that Kronos was not supposed to be the villain. He was supposed to be made out to be one. And for a long time, I didn't even bring him up. Like, you were just stuck in 1992 doing these other things. Mm-hmm. And, like, I did that on purpose because I wanted you to kind of, like, forget about him for a little bit until, like, he shows up all of a sudden. And, like, there's these weird little, like, inconsistencies with time. And with my initial plan, the idea was that, like, you would have this romp through time that would change things. Like, you know, you would, like, bump into your prior selves, and that's what would change, like, the, when your arrows, like, cracked a tree in half, and, like, then it was, like, sealed back up, and, like, you know, or, like, you would go back to the time of the Boston Tea Party and accidentally knock the rioters off the ship, and so they never tossed a tea out, and so, like, they never started this revolution, so that's why tea is still, like, the drink of choice in America, and, like, you know, just, I had all these ideas for these ripples in time to occur, but, yeah, it, obviously time changed, as it inevitably
We
does.
still had a fun romp through time.
Yeah.
Separately, but...
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the in-between characters?
That's a good
Is that
question.
all up in the air too?
Yeah.
We interacted with them for like a few episodes.
Yeah.
Yes. When you dove through the Sheed, they were with you, and they did come back out.
They stayed in the bunker though when we went
Yes, when you went
back went to Istanbul the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because they would have never
I mean, you don't know
encountered the
if they
bunker
had left
because
again.
they were hired because we were gone to help with an issue with Adam.
Yes. So, and that was an interesting point. The in-between characters, they had been to the bunker before. They, not during the actual in-between season, but shortly after they went to the bunker, they debriefed, they took on other missions for a time until Adam got involved and started driving. He caused an incident that mangled Evers. And after that, the in-between characters lost trust in Susie's leadership capabilities, and Adam weaseled his way into the bunker as a new hired hand. And so that's why the other group didn't know Adam was this imposter who was trying to like get in with the bunker so that he could get access to all the things he needed to complete his plan. I poured over that plan for a long time to make sure that the in-between characters didn't interact with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a lot. But anyway, so.
But before they interacted with the bunker at all, they were all kind of doing monster. Well, not all of them, but two of them were kind of doing monster hunting things.
May come up later on.
So they make them up like we know of their existence, so we might look for them later on to help us because we know that they're capable, kind of thing.
I would like to see the in-between characters again.
Yeah, and like if people want to bring in, like they're fresh characters pretty much too. If people want to bring in their in-between characters.
Yeah. And as of right now, if we start back in the 80s or jump to the 90s, either way, they're still like pretty much the ages we left them, so, or younger, depending on where the new timeline starts off. So
most of them were adult-ish, so they would be still adults or like teenagers in the 80s.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I think with that, though, we've gone, I think, over an hour, so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on our adventures. Thank you all to wonderful players. I had fun being the keeper for this campaign, and I look forward to what the next keeper brings to the table when we jump into Season 3. I will be a character. Maybe I'll be a robot. But no promises. I want to keep it interesting and fresh. So thank you again, and see you next time. Bye.
Fake Radio Shack.